Hi. I am so happy that you guys are here. I was half expecting it to be like 10 people because I know that it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. So I appreciate everybody being here. Let me say hi to everybody. Spring Day, Farah, Marie, Pink Crystal, excuse me, Leah, JR, Beth, Darren, Bangduna, Rhea, Ice, Rose, Angel Star, Shelly, Yet, Angie, Lindsay, Amy, Elizabeth, Cindy, Marie, Bangtan Army OT7, Claudia. Thank you for being here, Crystal, Caribbean Lady, Namhar, Estella Kalayag. JR, Jojo, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. If you are from the US, happy Thanksgiving. If you aren't from the US, then you can join us for Thanksgiving. K-pop grandma, hello. Rachel, nice to see you here. Romy. I caught it live. Hi, Leia. Bang Luna, hello. I have ad box pushing my chat box down. Oh, you haven't. Oh, you can do like there's a free ad block thingy. Beth, Elaine, Melanie, JR, Bea. Hello. Happy Thanksgiving, Barbara. Are oh, you do, oh, you have one and it's the ad is still there. Good night. Good night. We just started. Oh, you have to leave. Phil's Liz usually have to watch afterwards. Hello from Australia. Barbara, hello everybody. How are you all feeling? So today is the day when the deadline of old shorts, supposedly the deadline that they gave Hybe to respond to their requests. Today's the day. 28th. So supposedly it was 27th, but because Hybe actually Adore didn't get the letter until a day after. So the deadline was actually adjusted to 28th. And so 28th is today in South Korea. So today is the deadline. So let's see. Yesterday they did send Adore actually sent a letter to them and naka-other ako. Hello, naka-other ako. Hi, Elizabeth. Hello. So, yeah, so today's the deadline. I don't know what's going to happen. Yesterday, what's his name? Adore actually published a letter, an open letter to address to be lift. And it was a very, very smart letter because it essentially gives them. Have you read the letter? Has everybody read the letter? Happy holidays. Hello. Has everybody read the letter of Adore? What Adore sent to be lift? And they publicly published it. You haven't. Yes, yes, no. Yes, no, no. So it was a very, very smart letter. Let me pull it up. It essentially gives Hanny, the girl that complained, it gives her an out by saying that it's unfair. So remember, this is Adore addressing it to Be Lift Lab. And they're essentially saying that you cannot expect Hanny to remember all the details of what happened because it has been quite a while. Like it's unfair if you would expect her to remember everything. But then they also emphasize that they fully trust their artist. So this is that part. So they said B Lift Lab's claims are entirely different from the testimony of New Jeans member Hanny. Hanny clearly remembers that on the 27th of 2024, a member of B Lift Lab made a remark toward her to the effect of ignore her or just ignore and pass by. And then they followed it by saying, requiring Hanny to recall every detail of a situation that occurred in a relatively brief moment as a precondition for raising an issue is too harsh and strict a standard for the victim. So they kind of sort of emphasize that they still regard Hanny as the victim, and they have to because they are the agency of Hanny. So they have to make it appear. What it does essentially is that it will they are given they are given the if the court ever looks up this case, they Hani can't say that her own agency didn't protect her because they are clearly siding with Hani in the letter. They're saying that you can't don't ask her for details. It's been a while. It's unfair if you will ask her for details. But then they're also giving everybody an out by saying it's been such a long time that let's not expect people to remember all the details. So I think it was a very smart way. I'm sure that this was written uh, with the guidance of a lawyer, or it was actually written by a lawyer. So it's legally foolproof, which I thought is a very smart letter. So that is essentially what it does. It gives Adore the ammunition to tell the court that they actually are siding with their own artist, which is Henny. But they're also not saying that Henny's claims are totally accurate. So it's a very, very smart letter. The rest is, yeah, so it's it. Adore and its members fully trust our artist's words and genuinely regret the harm Hani has suffered. So they continue to regard her as the victim. We hope that B Lift Lab does not take Hani's suffering lightly and demonstrate mutual respect. So they're not requiring B Lift Lab to admit that to they're not requiring Lift Lab to say that Hani lied, and they are not saying that they will pursue this further. They're just saying that let's have some mutual respect. We ask for a sincere attitude to prevent unnecessary controversy regarding Adore's artist. So these are my observation. Um, so that the first thing that I said is that if Old Shorts actually files a lawsuit, they can't claim that Adore didn't side with them, and that the bolded portion, this part, is actually a way for them to give themselves an Hani an out of the situation if she ever cannot prove her claims. Because when you are in the court, a feeling is not an evidence. Right? So no CCTV footage. Yeah, it has been erased. So they said that they took longer to file the complaint, and they're only required, the agency that takes care of the security is only required to keep the file for 30 days. And so when they informed the security agency of the date that they were supposed to end the time frame, that they were supposed to review, that was the only clip that the security agency kept, and then they erased the rest. So it's like I can't disprove nor can I prove what has been claimed because there is no security footage. The other thing is that in the security footage there is no audio. You can only see the video. We believe that she believes it, is what they're saying. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Leah is right. That's essentially what Adore is saying. They believe that she believes what she's saying. So let's see what's going to happen. Today is the deadline. Let's see what's going to be the Adore's next move or New Jeans' next move. So Old Shorts were given, it's according to the Adore, they actually sent Old Shorts a letter, a formal letter of response to the claims that they made. And in that letter, they will know their stance, Adore stance in the demands that they set. I don't think that they will ever give in to the demand of Old Shorts to reinstate Mama Roach as the CEO. I think that is positively out of the question. I don't think that they will give in to the demand to reinstate the videos that have been taken down because Adore has already explained that they took out some of the videos of New Jeans because the brand partner didn't want their brand in the video. And so they had no choice but to take it down. So they cannot put that back. So if that is the demand of New Jeans, it's a dead end. Also, in the case of reinstating Mama Roach as the CEO, that's also a dead end because there's nothing that they can do about it. The entire timeline does not make sense. So I'm reading a comment from Ice Rose. I'm doing this because whenever I cut this video shorter for later, people are complaining that they're confused as to what I'm saying, whether it's something that I said or you guys said. So I'm just going to have to voice it out whenever I'm actually reading the comments. So according to Ice Rose, the entire timeline doesn't make sense, seeing how Old Shorts parents and Old Shorts gave two different accounts saying that they saw the CCTV footage of May, but the incident they were talking about happened in June. Yeah, there were a lot of inconsistencies. And then there's this claim by Henny that she actually recorded her conversation with a security guard who admitted to something, that they deleted the footage or whatever, but they never actually released the recording, even though it is legal in South Korea if one person is knows that the conversation is being recorded. What could Old Shorts really do? They can they can file a case to terminate their contract. So it's the same contract termination case that a lot of other idols are filing, a lot of other groups. Um, the most famous of all of them is actually TVXQ. I don't know if you know them, but they were once upon a time the most popular boy band in Korea and in Japan. They actually were, if you look at actual sales, they are the most popular boy band. They were way more popular than Big Bang. Um, and in a way they broke more boundaries than Big Bang because they were, along with Boa, they were actually the ones that broke the Japanese market, and that, as you know, has been instrumental to many other boy band and girl groups. So anyway, they sued SM Entertainment, and three of the members, so there were five members, three of the members actually sued SM Entertainment. And so in the end, what happened was that, so they were complaining about slave contract because their contract was 15 years. Wow. Which at that time was ordinary. Apparently, it was a normal, that's how long their contracts were. So 15 years. Because of that case, there was a new regulation that was put in place. A regulation was put in place, and they said, and the maximum number of years for an initial contract is 7 years, and then they can just renew for another, they can do an automatic renewal for 3 years, which equates to 10. But the first contract should be 7, so that's the limit. And it was because of the TVXQ case, because it was 15 years. Now, that is a different conversation altogether. The point is that they sued. The result, the court stated that they can, the court said you can't just break free from a contract. Like, you sign the contract, you can't just break free from it. So what happened was that they were allowed to leave SM Entertainment, but they had to pay the penalty to SM Entertainment. They didn't have the money, so they were giving SM Entertainment about 20% of their income on a every on a monthly basis. 20% of their income actually goes to SM Entertainment until they were able to pay it off. So and it took them a long time before they could pay it off. And this is a popular group. I mean, even though they broke from away from TVXQ and they became JYJ, they were still very popular. But it still took them, so, and they were still big in Japan. They were still releasing albums, they were still doing concerts, although they weren't doing any mainstream media appearances because they were informally blacklisted by SM Entertainment. But they were still a big group, very successful, and but it still took them about 15 years to pay off their contract. And it was only recently that they started being allowed to come into TV shows. So there were consequences with what they did, but that is what happened, and that is a recourse that New Jeans, that Old Shorts can actually pursue. They can sue. Outside of them, who else sued? 50/50 sued, and as we know, the court sided with the company, with Attract. The only one, who is this? There is this group, Momoland. Momoland, I think. Momoland sued their company, and I think they're the only one that managed to sever their ties from the company without paying a fine, but that was because they were able to prove abuse. So it is not unprecedented for the contract to be totally terminated without fine, but theirs, it was totally, it was they had all the evidence, basically physical evidence, to prove that they were being abused. Didn't somebody from SM recently who left the company? There were several who left the company. Of course, many idols from EXO actually left. Tao, who's this guy? Chris, he went to jail for raping a woman. He was the leader of EXO China. So yeah, there were several who left the company. So SM Entertainment is probably the most sued company, but they are also the one with the most amount of artists. So I just wonder if they burn too many bridges with fans to go somewhere else. New Jeans. Um, will they be able to go somewhere else if and I've said this before, there are many other idols who actually managed to find their own management. I mean, even 50-50, the three members who left, one of them actually came back to Attract, but the other three who left found their own agency, their own company. They're not selling as well, but they're still selling. And Songri still has a fan base, even after being proven that he abused women. So, and I mean, Yang Suk, for all of the things that he has done, he's also a criminal, and he still manages to come back to the industry. I think, and New Jeans is nowhere near. They didn't do anything as like critical as the crimes of Songri, or whoever. So I think it's not entirely impossible for them to be able to make a comeback. What I do think, though, personally think, my opinion is that many of the people that are supporting them now and are claiming to be fans of New Jeans aren't actually fans. They're actually haters of Hybe. And so, because hi Phaedra, because this is a chance for them to hate on Hybe, then they're making it appear as if they are fans of New Jeans. So that is just my theory. But I do think they still have a strong fan base, and after, if they go on their own and leave Hybe, they will still be able to make a solid career. Whether or not they can become what they could become if they stay with Hybe and everything is peachy and sweet, I don't think so, because you do need the network of Hybe for them to be able to achieve their goals. So let's see. How's the cacao liquidation? I'm reading a question from Bang Luna. How's the cacao liquidation of the entertainment side going? It isn't going yet. They haven't sold their entertainment companies, so nothing has happened yet. They should be black. You and yeah, and New Jeans are naive enough to think that they are real fans. That's just my. I don't wish them ill. I don't wish ill on anybody. By the way, I believe in karma. So I don't ever wish them to fail or whatever. It's just that that's what I really think. A lot of these people who are claiming to be fans of New Jeans, they're actually haters of Hybe. And because they are seeing an opportunity to go against Hybe and hit Hybe and attack Hybe through New Jeans, they're making it appear as if they're fans of New Jeans. Why does Cacao, question from Bang Luna, why does Cacao need Hybe to fail to go public? They um if I explain, I will go back to this explanation. I just want to go through. Um I want to go through something positive first because it's Thanksgiving. So I want to go through something positive first, and then let's go back to this question: why does Cacao need Hype to fail to go public? Okay, let's go. It has something to do with the reputation of Cacao. But let's go. Just want to go back to, let me see. I wanted to talk about, and I also want to get you opinion and like your own take and your own list. In the like, I want to know what are your favorite moments, favorite achievements of BTS in their solo era. So I actually grouped it into two. One is their like their quantitative achievements in their solo era that I think will really change the course of their career or will affect their career moving forward. I think these things that they achieved has primarily paved the way, a new path for them going forward as they pursue their individual career after they do their group comeback. Okay. Love I know, right? This is such a cute picture. I love this picture too. I save a lot of their pictures, especially if it's like the one of the things that I actually want to talk about was to go through some of the like my favorite moments of them that is not on stage, where it's just casual, like moments in the soup. I don't know if you remember that moment when they were in the dining table and they were just talking, and then suddenly they were singing and dancing and they were just going crazy, as if they have forgotten that there's camera there, and it was just them going crazy and laughing with each other. So that was one of my favorite moments of them. So I'll do that in the next one. Jin has done so much. Namjoon has, I know, right? So this is actually funny for me. Because a lot after the announcement of the CEO, the new CEO, which we'll also be talking about, after the announcement of the new CEO, there's solos are attacking our big hit, and solos have been planning some campaigns to to try and convince the group members, BTS members, to leave Big Hit because they are being mistreated. And the first thing that BTS members did was to actually post and make it very very clear to everybody that they miss BTS and that they can't wait to come back. And one of them is of course RM posting that he misses Bangtan. V posted that he wants Army to have fun and then come back in 2025 to also have fun with BTS. So I think by now we should know how they actually communicate with us. So I know that it is these things that they are posting. These are not coincidences. They're doing this on purpose. So okay, number one most important thing or achievement that they made in chapter two, so individual careers, is J Hope's Lollapalooza. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but J Hope actually he earned the biggest crowd of any K-pop performance of all time, according to Big Hit. There were 105,000 people in his Lollapalooza headline performance. No other group, not even BTS, has actually managed to get 105,000 people in one venue. Now, that is, of course, not impossible, and I am convinced that they're going to do it when they come back. It's just that it so happened that he headlined a festival, and the venue actually allowed him to get this amount of crowd, this many people in the audience. But regardless, he is actually the first. He has the biggest crowd of all time of any group or any act from South Korea. I'm gonna cough. I did not cough. Okay. So this, I felt, was a turning point in J Hope's career and in the career of any other Korean act, because it was clear as day. He sort of broke a great barrier that it is possible for any act to actually have more than 100,000 in a crowd. So, and I think that is going to be the goal of many, to actually surpass his record. The only thing I regret is that it wasn't celebrated enough that he actually got more than 100 people in his show. And as I've said, this is the biggest crowd of all time, any K-pop performance of all time. I didn't feel like it was celebrated enough. That's 105,000, one person. That's more than all the that's more than any of the single crowd that his own group actually pulled. So Happy Stan said that that she thought it was 110. Yeah, it was 105 to 110, but I have the tendency to actually to be conservative in my estimate, so I did put 105. But according to Big Hit, it's 105 to 110, so it could be 110, maybe more. So that's number one, the amount of crowd that he actually pulled. Suga's sold out solo tour was another monumental event because not effectively, but he holds the record for the biggest tour of any Korean act. um, and for one member of BTS to actually do that, and he is famous for saying this. This did not come from me. He is famous for saying he's not the most popular member. He always says like, he does not phrase it that way. But if you would remember in Suchwita, he actually, when he was having a conversation with Jimin, he said that, oh, we're just a support. Like the vocal line is actually the one that is that is pulling the crowd, and we're just supporting you. That is how he phrased it. And for somebody who thinks that he's just to support, to pull this amount, to sell out his tour, and to have enough demand, enough for him to regret not doing a stadium, I think that essentially shows just how popular everybody else is. How popular they are individually, basically. And this is the standard now. So with how many, I think he has like 26 shows, and he got almost 60 million gross. So that is now the standard. If you are a group, if you're this is a solo act, 26 shows, what, 550, almost 60 million gross. Then if you're a group, you have to pull in more. He could have done double that. Yes. So Bang Luna said that he could have done double. Yes, he could have done. And I think that was one of the funniest moments during his live. He was like, "Oh, if I could just turn back time, I would have listened to Big Hit staff when they suggested that he does a stadium tour. He just didn't think that he would sell it out." So you could see the regret in his voice, and to a certain degree, I felt like, why don't you just do like an encore, like a 2 day encore, or maybe maybe two, one in New York, one in or three, one in New York, one in Europe, and one in LA, a stadium encore, just three shows. But I guess he didn't have the time. He had to enlist and all stuff like that. So, but he easily could have done 100 million had he listened to the staff of Big Hit when they suggested that he does a stadium tour. He also became the most streamed Korean rapper in Spotify. And this is important because he was classified as a Korean rapper, not a K-pop rapper. So in terms of, as we know, for them, it's very, very important for them to earn the respect of those rappers and hip hop artists that they actually respect. And so for them to be classified now as a Korean rapper and not a K-pop rapper, I think it is the start of them shedding that image and making their way into actual serious. They already are. We know that in terms of substance and the quality of their work, they already are real rappers. Probably more real or better actually in their craft than others are from the north, but because of the stigma of being a Korean rapper, they're being held back in terms of getting recognition. But because he has now proven himself to be um, a powerhouse in streaming, not just in concerts, then he is slowly breaking that boundary. So the king, the boss, 3.9 billion. And this is, I think this was as of October or August, could be either August or October of this year. So he probably is already at 4 million by now. Big difference between, according to Happy Stan OT7, big difference between K-pop rapper and Korean rapper. There's a huge difference. Okay. Lara said, I love that he had the members as guests as well as his collaborators, but having the members is so generous of him because he knows that Army misses Bangtan. Yes, and he was very clear that the reason he decided to go on tour was because BTS couldn't. That the ideal, he knows that armies have been waiting for it since the end of COVID. Well, since COVID, we have been waiting for it. We wanted to go to the Mott's tour, they couldn't do it. So he felt that since he at that time is the only member of BTS who could do it because he had enough songs, that's one. Second, he had the time, then he decided to just do it. So I think that is one of the main motivators for him to bring his group members in his show. Next is RM's RPWP recognition as contender for Record of the Year. So he was named as a contender for Record of the Year by Billboard, Rolling Stone, AP, NME, and these are some of the most consequence of sound, and these are some of the most respected in terms of critical acclaim or critical reviews in music. These publications, and he was constantly named in all of them. And I think, and he was named alongside some big names, and so I think it's really a big thing. It's a monumental mark for him to cross. So there's that it is very important that he gets this record. It's not yeah, it is important for him, and it's important for his group, and it's important for Korean acts in general, because he is now getting recognized as one of the best, not just one of the best selling, but in terms of quality, one of the best. So, and RM, as we know, in actually, I'm going to mention it. His second album, RPWP, was really a labor of pain. It was actually, it came from like a lot of the things that he held back. So for him to get this recognition as a result of this his decision to actually um, talk more about his trauma and about his pain, I think it makes it even sweeter. Okay, this is another important thing. When Jimin became the first solo act to debut, remember this, the first solo act in history. Imagine the sound of that. The first solo act in history, the first solo act in history to debut a non English song in the summit of Billboard Hot 100. So, when that happened, I wish I could describe to you the shock of the Western music industry when this happened, because nobody saw it coming. Like, absolutely nobody saw it coming that he was going to be number one. And that was, he shocked the entire industry. So, and that is an important landmark, because it was a signal that language is now not a barrier for anybody to enter Billboard Hot 100. Many of the non-English songs that made it to number one of Billboard Hot 100, number one, they did not debut. It took them a while to actually get to number one. And then the other is that um, Jimin song, many of them were actually, what do you call it, novelty songs. Novelty songs. So they were funny, like La Bamba. It's not a critical piece. It's not a serious type of song. But Like Crazy was a serious song. Like, there is a story, there's a structure, and so that is actually what made the entire difference. And also the thing is that he wrote it, he produced it, he composed it. So this was, I wish I could just describe to you that morning when everyone learned. It actually, everyone, well, people learned about it. People here in the industry learned about him becoming number one several hours before it was actually published. And so the shock of the entire industry, and Billboard just couldn't do anything about it. So next is Who's radio success. A lot of people don't believe that Who right now is being carried by radio. If he really is being carried by radio, and this is surprising, he's actually getting played in Walmart, like in a lot of franchise stores. He's actually in their, he has been included in their playlists. So if you go to Walmart, like, big stores and franchise stores in the US, go there, and you stay there long enough and you will hear his song. And that is a huge thing because, for example, Walmart, how many stations are there, how many Walmarts are there in the US? So that's actually a huge thing. Um, so he is being carried by radio and streaming in the US, and that is this. And to think that he did not collaborate with anybody, and he didn't really have much of a promotion except for that one appearance in Jimmy Fallon. So this actually, he is on his 18th week inside Billboard Hot 100. I'm pretty confident he's going to stay there for one more week at the very least. I think he's going to stay there for one more week. So he will become he's going to tie, if he stays there one more week, he's going to tie Jungkook for the longest stint inside Billboard Hot 100 at number 5. So right now his solo number 6. If he stays one more week, he's going to be fifth longest alongside his brother Jungkook. So this, with the two of them together there, they're basically solidifying Korean acts in the West. So the only thing that they need to do is to make it consistent. Like they need to come back and actually like do more release more hits for them to really establish themselves in the US. Next, Jungkook's debut. Remember, he did not actually, his debut in Hot 100, he actually didn't want to become, he didn't want to do a project. He wanted to rest, enlist, and come back as a group. It's just that he was given the song, Seven. And that sort of started the legendary rise of Jungkook on top of the pop industry, the pop dimension. He really became he right now we have no Justin Bieber, we have no Justin Timberlake. And so when he just landed in the US as a solo act, everyone in the industry felt like, okay, this is, we have found the new Justin Timberlake, we've found the new Justin Bieber. And so it was such a, it was such a disheartening thing that he had to enlist, because he could have released another song, not another song, but another album, go on tour, and I promise you he was going to be crowned as the new pop star in the US. But he was interrupted, but that didn't stop him from being the most decorated Korean solo act in Billboard Hot 100, with 7 songs inside, 3 top 10 hits, and of course, 7 actually debuted in number 1. So because of this, I think when he returns with BTS and eventually as a solo artist, people are really going to wait. It's like he's starving. Right now, we're starving for a new Bieber, for a new Timberlake. We have nobody right now, that kind of an act, and he could be it. Jungkook's performance in Times Square. Elaine said, "I just bought 4 Who single CDs at the US store because they were still available. I wish more single CDs from other stores were in stock." Um, so apparently, where did you buy it, Elaine? Because the thing is that there are more in stock, but they don't put it on display. So you just have to ask. So what I usually do, is when for example, if I go to Target or I go to Walmart, I just ask. Like I ask them if there's, and then I pay in cash for it to be counted. So tip to everybody: if you're going to buy in a store, for that to be counted as a sale, you can't use the same card. So if you're in the US, you're going to be most likely going to be using a card, either a debit card or a credit card. But if they are able to identify that you purchased using the same card, they won't count it. So the only way for that to be considered a unique purchase is if you use cash. So that's what I would usually do. I would go in and pay in cash. So I would buy you, if there is a single, I usually ask for a single CD. And then if they have nothing, and if I have enough cash, then I'll just buy a CD, like the full CD. Now, it's important. It's actually good that, and Elaine, thank you for your super thanks. But it's actually good that she mentioned it, because I often do not remember mentioning this. That if in the US, as you know, only purchases in the US will be counted in Billboard Hot 100. And that is the same thing for UK. Only purchases in UK will be counted in UK charts. Now, in the US, because of this incident with Ariana Grande, I don't know if you remember that, but because of that incident with Ariana Grande, Billboard became very, very strict in the amount, and because of BTS, they became very strict in how many purchases you can make that they will count. So the only way for them to not trace it to you is to buy in cash. So if you ever go to Target, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, even on like mom and pop stores like Amoeba, just go in, ask them for a single CD, and pay in cash. So that is the only way. Now, if you want to buy online and you've already used up all of your cards, buy a buy a prepaid card. Buy a prepaid card, then they won't be able to trace it back to you. I was, so according to T Style Army, I was at Target around Festa and wanted to buy the astronaut. None on the shelves. I should have asked if, yes, you should always ask, because they don't bring it out. Like they ask. And then sometimes they're lazy. You have to go to approach one of the cashiers, ask them to look for it in their stocks, and if they have it, then they will ask one of their staff members to get it. Elaine said, I got it at the US D2C online store. Thank you for your buying tips. I didn't know. Of course, you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you, Elaine. So, yeah, that's a tip. Go to a physical store, buy using cash for it to be counted. Or if you need to buy online, just buy a prepaid debit card and use that so that they can trace it back to you. Bea said, it kills me. I never carry cash. I don't either, but because of them, I do now. So, all right. So going back to Jungkook's Times Square performance, I don't know if anybody actually really knows the impact of this performance for him to actually draw that amount of crowd with only 30 minutes of notice. Okay. Now, to be honest with everybody, Times Square, there's always a lot of people there. And that area where he had a concert, that's where people actually hang out. And any given Sunday, at any time of the day, there are a lot of people there, but not that many. If you saw the crowd, not that many, but there usually is a lot of people there, especially if there's a special occasion or on a weekend, because that's where people take pictures and they can see all the billboards and whatever. But for him to draw that many crowd with 30 minutes of notice through phone, man, that is, so when you that is phenomenal, because it means that there were that many fans of Jungkook in one space. So what happens is that they, for you to get notification, you can get notified through Weavers, and then they do a Bluetooth sending. So if you're in the area, if you are within the area, they can just send a promo, they can push a promo text to you in your phone. So for him to draw that many people, it means he has that many fans in that concentrated area. V becomes the first double million seller soloist. This is a glass ceiling in South. A lot of K-pop acts actually don't cross 1 million in the first week. Usually that is reserved to groups. So for V to actually break that ceiling, it made people realize that it is possible. That's one. Second, they really earn more in physical sales. So in terms of return, I'm gonna cough. I didn't cough. So he actually he broke that ceiling. So he established that that it is possible for a solo act to actually sell this many CDs. Eventually, of course, Jungkook sold more, but it doesn't change the fact that he was the first to actually establish it. And yes, Bang Luna is correct for with a jazz album nonetheless. I mean, I've been open about the fact that but of course I support V. I support him all the way. It's just that jazz is not my thing. R&B is, but jazz isn't. But his is primarily jazz with little bit of R&B. Okay, so he's a first album to ever set to become a double million seller. Jin's Happy becomes the highest selling album for a Korean soloist in Oricon, Japan. And this is a difficult ceiling to break because usually Korean acts are considered second class acts in Japan because they're very, very protective of their own culture and their own singers and their own artists. So for him to establish a new record, it is monumental. um, Second, he is not considered, you know how certain countries have favorites, right? So Jin is not, wasn't really known to be the most popular member of BTS in Japan. So it was a shock to everybody that he actually broke the record. He, of course, Stray Kids actually sold more, but doesn't change the fact that for a solo act, he actually broke the that record. Now that is for their quantitative achievements. I also have some, I think, monumental achievements of BTS that are qualitative in nature. It's not something tangible, that I think is going to dictate the future of their career in Korea and globally. One of which is Army's response to Suga's overplayed non-case. And I call it non-case because it really is a non-case. If you would remember what Army's did on that week, those weeks when people were doing everything and anything that they can to try and break or make Suga leave BTS because of that one silly thing, and what Army did is to actually chart his songs. Like, it's a 2 year old song. We were charting it. People were shocked. A lot of people, a lot of insiders, a lot of the music industry insiders are confused why we are actually charting it. And so I have some friends in the industry. I was trying to explain what was happening, and they were like, so remember, in the US, that's nothing. Like, DUI, a lot of, I mean, there are a lot of celebrities and singers, actors who actually have criminal records and they still have a solo career. We just really know how to delineate between their personal lives, criminal records, and their actual singing records. So when I was trying to explain to some of my friends within the industry, and I was trying to and telling them why we were actually charting some many of his old songs, and they were just shocked at the response of armies. But this also proved to everybody in Korea that the main strength of BTS is something that Koreans can touch, and that is the international fans. And that what makes BTS lethal for them, because there is absolutely nothing they can do that will separate or end the career of BTS. That's when they realize that just they do not stand a chance. They don't want to admit it, but they realize at that moment they do not stand a chance. There is absolutely nothing they can do that will separate Army from BTS. The only thing that can break that bond will be BTS themselves if they do something really criminal. But that is a signal. It sent a strong signal to the rest of Korea that there's just not, BTS's power is out of their reach. It's just BTS is way out of their league. The rationale behind RPWP was also life changing, not just for RM, but also for BTS. As you know, RM admitted to Jimin in the album exchange that the reason he did RPWP was his realization that with all of the songs that he has ever written and created, he has never really was able to express this emotions that he was trying to keep inside of him. And so he decided to do this one album when he can just rant and bring everything out of him. And I think, as if you know, if you go back and actually rewatch the album exchange between Jimin and RM, you would realized how surprised Jimin was hearing it from RM, that RM was going through it. And that was the reason why he was pulling away from the group. That even though there were still four of them together, not serving yet, RM was almost so detached from them. It was because he was going through something and he needed the space and the time alone to be able to express everything that he wanted to express. And I think that changed RM and that changed the group as well. I think moving forward, it's going to allow RM to be more in touch with his emotions. And I think that's going to allow him to create even more gems in the future. J Hope's dark hip hop album was a shock to everybody. Um, was it somebody said that there is a huge difference between a K-pop rapper and a real rapper, and this is he there is no better explanation or no better example in explaining that than this. What J Hope did is something that only a real rapper can do, because this is not some cute rapping. This is not a an album dedicated that just talks about romantic love or crushes or being cool or sex or glamour. These are some real deep shit that he actually talked about. And this is almost like going back to the origins of rap. I don't know if you guys know. I'm sure a lot of you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say that. I know that many of you are very familiar with the history of rap, where it came from, and that is where he drew it from. Like that is, you can't be more true to rap than he did with Jack in the Box. And I also think that he proved to everybody that that they are not anymore just a Korean rapper, that they're actual rappers that are concerned about the advancement of the craft of rapping and hip hop. And I think this is now a new standard for Korean rappers. Uh, and a new standard for any Korean K-pop rapper who wants to be taken seriously. This is now the standard. Like if you want to really establish yourself as a real rapper, not just a K-pop rapper, you do something like this. It's and they won't many will fail. Next, when Jungkook set his goal to become a global artist, the horror that he sent to everybody. He just scared everybody because with one album, he was actually able to achieve it. Imagine what else he can do when he finally has no limit, when he has no responsibility to fulfill, when he has no time bomb. Um, and also, he is the first to be that bold in actually stating and verbalizing his goal, that what he really wants to do. And this is going to set the tone for the rest of his career. This is his goal now. He wants to become a global pop star. V's jazz direction was also a shock to a lot of people. It is the most un-K-pop thing to do. I thought I was gonna cough. This is the most un-K-pop thing to do, primarily because everyone knows jazz is not a very popular. It is not the most popular genre. Let's just put it that way. It is not the most popular genre. And for him to go to that direction proved that V wasn't really concerned about the sales. He just wanted to do something different and create a new image for himself. And boy, did he able to create that. But this is one of the most brave outing for any for any K-pop idol, but also one of the most thoughtful. Um, because he right from the beginning he said he wanted to create something different, like he wanted to create something so different from what he does in BTS. So just if J-Hope was able to set the standard for a rapper in Korea, he just set the standard for artistry in K-pop. This is how you pursue art. When you don't care about sales, you don't care. Okay. I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Are you saying that Jungkook and Jimin were all concerned about sales?" No, Jungkook, Jimin, and the other members, they did what they wanted to do. What I'm saying is that V could have easily done a pop genre had he been concerned about the sales. But he prioritized what was true to himself, what he wanted to do as an artist. So I just wanted to make that clear. Next, when Jimin took the role of being a creative director in all of his projects, so he is now the leader of his own band. He had a hand in every aspect of his projects, as written by Grammy Awards with no features, and a hand in every aspect of the project. Jimin's first solo EP proves that BTS stars a visionary in his own right. Um, I often say that Jimin got a lot of flack when he was still doing activities with BTS in chapter 1. He got a lot of criticisms because he had the least amount of writing credits. It didn't feel like he was writing a lot and whatever. So for him to take this role, to be the head of his own projects in every aspect of his project, that showed everybody the amount of potential that he has. He is still in the process. I believe he's still in the process with all the achievements that he has already made. He's still just in the process of actually exploring what he can do as an artist. So imagine what he will be able to do once he figures everything out. Like once he has tried all the genre that he wants to try and finally settle, okay, this is what I am as an artist. Imagine what he can do. Suga's end of of his trilogy was actually a monumental thing, not just for K-pop, but for the global music industry in general. I think it was NME. Was I don't quite remember if it was Rolling Stone or NME who actually wrote about it, how ambitious the entire project is, but also how it sets the standard. While he was touring, Drake was also touring. And in that article, they actually mentioned the difference in the approach for concerts. Like his was so cerebral that you would actually you this sugar is how you felt what hip hop was supposed to be about. That this is not just words with rhythm and with melodies. It's hip hop is supposed to tell a story. That is the origin. And Suga is one of the few rappers, if not the first rapper, to actually take that journey of creating that narrative from beginning to end in every aspect of his work. If you watch many artists, many rappers, and I do go to a lot of concerts, a lot of them would just go to the stage and just perform their songs. Suga actually told a story. And it's a story that is complete on its own. The concert is actually complete on its own, but it's also a bigger story if you take into consideration all the other projects that he launched. He is the standard for hip hop concerts. Next is Bang Shiyuk's lack of involvement in the project. So in his Bloomberg interview, he mentioned that he it wasn't his place to discuss any of the solo projects of BTS because essentially they are at that stage in their career when they take control. Like they make their own decision and his role is to just make it happen. So this with Bang Shiyuk's detachment from the group, it signals a new chapter for BTS that this is not they may have been the group that was produced and formed by Bang Shiyuk in the beginning, but they are a different group now and they certainly are different types of artists now, and that is the type that Bang Shiyuk cannot anymore create. They that Bang Shiyuk can't even envision, and not even Bang Shiyuk can copy. And I think moving forward, that is what we can expect of BTS. Like they are now a league of their own. And as I've said in my previous live stream, they actually are creating their own industry, possibly their own like universe within the music industry. So what are your favorite moments? Now that you know mine, what are your favorite moments? Rap is not just for fast talking or mumbling, according to Happy Stan OT7. It isn't, yeah. Um, I think it was J. Cole. So my favorite rapper of all time is J. Cole. That's his my number one. Second, number two is Eminem. Um, I think it was J. Cole who mentioned something about it's not about who has the fastest mouth, and it certainly isn't about who can say the worst curses in a song. The rap is more than that. It was actually developed. It evolved from the experiences of the African community, African American community in the Bronx. And that in itself should tell you what rap is all about. And so for anybody, if anybody is going to borrow it, because so African Americans can do whatever it is that they want to do with it, because that is their genre, that is their culture, and that is their yeah, it is their genre, that is theirs. But for anybody else to borrow it, to use it, then there has to be some amount of respect for its history. And so if anybody wants to be taken seriously, they need to really take it seriously. They need to create music and not just post language nonsensical lyrics. My favorite rapper who performs in English is Lupe Fiasco. Okay, that is Pinay Yonce. Multistan 95 said, here cleaning and listening. What are you cleaning? BTS Paved the Way said, I love Jimin's depth of character. He is an empathic and has a deep. Okay, too fast. BTS Paved the Way. Leia said, BTS Paved the Way. That is so true. Missing JK. I miss him too. Did you see his post on social media? So it's actually on Instagram. So I was mentioning earlier that it's so uncanny that when solos are starting this campaign to convince people that members of BTS are mistreated and they're not getting their way, they're not given the proper attention and whatever, each time that happens, members are going to come out and emphasize just how much they miss BTS, how much they want to come back. And Jin hasn't stopped wearing the big hit hat. With the big hit cap. Someone actually asked him on live, I think, why he keeps on wearing it. And it was like, Gucci can't make me one. And so he's wearing he's wearing big hit. JK is back on Instagram. He has an account for his dog, Bam. So of course he's the one posting there. So he posted something this morning. He posted two photos of Bam and then his photo with Bam. And then RM made a comment. RM said, I miss Bangtan terribly, like he misses Bangtan very much. And then he said, I miss you to Bam, which is actually Jungkook. He's telling Jungkook he misses him. That's why Hobie is so awesome. At Hobie Palooza, he highlighted the OG of hip hop. But not many actually got that point. That is the thing. Jimin hitting number one and proving to the US that BTS is here to stay and have more power than they think. If I could just tell you the shock that went through the music industry when he hit number one, it was hilarious. Like people, the things that I was reading from people, things, text messages that people were sending my way, it was absolutely hilarious. Like everyone was in disbelief. They nobody saw him coming. Quite honest, nobody saw him coming. Not even Billboard. They absolutely did not expect it. Like they were thinking he was gonna go 11, maybe 10, number 11 and number 10, and then he got to number one and just like, oh dear. But that also made me expect. I knew that they were going to try and do something to stop him. um okay, they are so sweet to each other. They are. JK said he was wearing Calvin Klein in TSX and in Times Square, and people love the billboards in Times Square. JK plus Sugash song coming. I hope so. We do a second round. Every time solos talk about them leaving to make their own label, I think they already made their own label. I saw this. Were you the one who first made that comment? Yeah. So it's so funny. Maybe it was Bang Luna who actually made that comment. Like, why are people asking them to make their own label when they already made their own label? Not just their own label, they made a freaking conglomerate. What else do you want? Do you want them to do it the second time? Like, what the hell? Okay, what shocked me with Jimin? A happy Stan 97 OT7 said that what shocked me with Jimin's number one was the way that he showed him off the first place the next week. No, I kind of expected it was going to happen, that they were going to change the rules midweek, because they just couldn't let that happen. The industry wasn't ready for him. So I kind of expected that to happen, which actually makes whose success even sweeter, because now he's actually able to prove that like crazy wasn't a fluke, that he's perfectly capable of repeating his success, and probably even this actually makes whose success even sweeter. BTS deserved all the accolades. Bangtan for life. He does. Jimin's who came in so strong, everyone was just swept away. No wonder they sabotage him. Jin is the CEOs of Big Hit. So how do you feel about the new CEO of Big Hit? You know who she is, right? Um, Angie said, just ignoring them at this point. Bang Luna said yes, she knows who she is. And now the numbers are super ridiculous for all artists that are popular too. Rachel said exactly, multi universal annihilation BTS. Um, she's been with them since the beginning. Okay, so her name, this is, I actually, I love that they promoted her. Okay, let's see. So happy with the new Big Hit CEO. So Shin Son Jong, that's her name. So she is one of the 10 original employees of Big Hit when BTS was still a trainee. At that time, Jimin was actually not yet a formal part of BTS. And according to RM, she was one of the two people in Big Hit who fought for Jimin to stay. And in the TND special that is published on YouTube, they RM said that what they like he told her that you were right, like what you did was right, because in effect, say saving Jimin was actually saving BTS, because it would have been a disaster without Jimin. Now, I know a lot of other solos are going to say that, oh, what do you mean by that, and whatever. Let me just make it clear that every member of BTS is necessary. Like, they are essential. BTS is seven. You take one person away, it is disaster. Right? You take RM out, that's going to be a disaster. You take out Jin, it's a disaster. It just so happened that at this time in the interview, they were talking about Jimin in reference to her, because she's one of the two people who insisted on making Jimin stay. Okay, so for all the solos, stop your whining. Okay, so um, so she was an original employee, one of the 10 original members of Big Hit, and she has always been in the talent and development division of Big Hit. And she actually developed the entire system of training in hybe, so I'm going to discuss that in a bit. But she is instrumental in the training and the development of groups like and hypen, N Team, TXT, and Le Seraphim. So she was an essential part of all of this. And as I've said, she's one of the two people in Big Hit who fought for Jimin to stay. And this actually is, to a certain degree, shows you what a good CEO is. At that time, Bang Shiuk was the CEO of Big Hit. He isn't anymore, but he was the CEO of Big Hit at that time. And it was good for him to admit and kind of realize that he didn't know anything. He actually listened to them because he didn't want Jimin in the team in the beginning. But he listened to the advice of his team, right? Next is that he in that TND special, she actually said that one of the most difficult thing that she constantly has to do is to remind trainees that being an idol it's not a passion, it's a job. Basically, it's a job, and just like any other job, you have to contribute to the bottom line of the company, meaning you have to help the company earn. Um, and and I think that is a realistic way of looking at things, because a lot of people, a lot of fans are so idealistic on what being an idol is. And the truth is that it is a job, and a management company is a business, and they need to earn. So if you're going to work there as an employee or work there as a talent, then you better be contributing to the bottom line, you better be contributing to the revenue. And she emphasizes that in the training. So just like any other employee, you're going to have to go through difficult times, you're gonna have to do things that you don't really want to do, which you should do for as long as you don't feel abused and you're not physically hurt. Then you should be able to balance things out. She also said that I can't be too attached. Like, I have to let them go at a certain stage. Like, she is in charge essentially of new trainees coming in, honing their skills. So they know these people right from the beginning, when they are raw, when they don't know anything else, when they have nothing but passion, nothing but heart, nothing but ambition. She is the one who's there to try and transform and mold these people and make them perfect to become idols. That's her role. And then when they become idols, it's out of her hands. So basically, she planted, but she never reaped what she sowed. She never, she never harvested what she planted. She would always prepare people for success. And once they are successful, it's the management companies who get the credit, right? It's a thankless job, in other words. She also incorporated RM's playlisting in the trainee system. If you would remember, one of the things that RM, Suga, and J Hope did with Bangtan when they were living together as trainees is create playlists, and they would give that playlists to the other members so that they can listen and widen their exposure to different genres. And she actually saw the benefit of it, and she continues that practice to this day. And so trainees in hybe would actually get playlists from the training from the TND team, and they would have to actually listen to the songs that they were given. Now, one of the great things that she contributed to hybe is designing the artist controlled scheduling system. Unlike other management companies in hybe, idols are not, trainees are not given a schedule of training. It's not like, okay, at 9 until 12, you do dance lessons, and then 1 p.m. to 5, you do singing lessons, 7 to this, you do this and that. They don't do that. What you do as a trainee is that you are given the control over your own schedule. So you basically have to decide, what am I going to be, what lessons am I taking, how much lesson am I going to take, what kind of evaluation do I want to go through. Yes, exactly, Bang Luna, like college classes, you actually design your own schedule. The only difference between a college class and this is that they actually don't, like in in a college program, you know the things that you need to fulfill. In here, they're just given the resources, like, here are the lessons, the classes that you can take, you decide. So if you're lazy on one thing, you're not going to improve on that thing. And so when you have your evaluation, you're most likely going to pass. So when you are evaluated, you're of course told, like, okay, you need to improve your dancing, or you need to improve your singing, or whatever. But still, no one's going to dictate to you that you need 10 credits for this or that. You decide on yourself, on your own. And she designed that. Why? Because she believes in, she's guided by the principle of Bang Shiyuk. According to Bang Shiyuk, there are very few things that he looks for in accepting an idol or a trainee in Big Hit. One of which is the dedication towards their craft, because he believes that's something that you cannot teach. Like, he can teach you singing, he can teach you acting, he can teach you dancing, but your dedication towards your craft, your commitment to success, that's something that he cannot teach you. And so it's useless for them to dictate something like that. You have to decide by yourself. And up until this point, this is the system that they're actually using. And so I am so hopeful with her promotion, because I felt like, number one, it's so nice to see somebody who started from the bottom and moved her way to the top. She started as one of the staff members. That's one. So it's a real testament that you can actually get to the top if you just play your cards right and if you just work hard enough. That's one. Second, she is loyal. And so this, she stayed with Big Hit all this time, with hybe all this time. So it's a good way to be rewarded for her loyalty. It encourages people to actually be loyal. So it's number two. Number three, you know that she has a good balance of discipline and compassion because she's not motherly in that mama roach kind of way. She doesn't put herself in front and tell the trainees, I'm your mother. She's not like that. she she is a trainer. That's what she is. She's there to mold you to become the best idol. But there are things that she knows she is off limits to her, just like commitment. Like she can't train you to become passionate over your work. You have to come in terms with that. You have to motivate yourself, but she's going to give you the resources and the faculties to try and improve yourself. So I'm very, very hopeful. Now, the only thing I don't like about this entire thing when she was announced is how people are celebrating that, oh, it's a woman leader and whatever. And I felt that why why do you need to include her gender in all of this? Like, she's a human being, and she got this promotion not because she's so a woman, but because she has the skills to actually do her job. And so that did not leave a good impression in me, that people are pigeonholing her in this she's a human being, she's a leader, she got it because she deserves to be there, not because she's a woman. And her being a woman doesn't have anything to do with her skills. She's just a human being who's disciplined and who's smart, and who's passionate and who is compassionate. So I think, just like, drop this for me. It's like, just drop it. Just stop mentioning her gender. It has nothing to do with this. She's just a human being who got promoted. And just like everybody else, she will be measured in the same measure that we are using with the other CEOs in the other departments, in the other labels under Hybe. I'm not going to expect more or less of her because she's a woman. I'm just going to expect what I want to expect of a leader in the most important label under Hype. Because let's just accept the fact that Big Hit is the most important label in there. They aren't under Hype, but they are the most important label in that conglomerate. And now she's going to head that most important label. And so I'm not going to be gentle. I'm not going to expect less of her. She's just going to have to lead this. She's just going to have to rock it because you're going to be leading the biggest boy band and seven of the biggest solo stars in the world. So, Fierlin, have you seen that video of former Big Hit trainees mentioning that RM and Suga practice friendship and encouragement between trainees instead of seeing one another as a competition? Um, no, I have not. Or maybe I have. I rarely miss videos of Big Hit, like trainees and stuff like that, because I'm always interested in where did you so some 31 friends. Your nickname is so hard to what is that video? What's the title of that video? Ted doesn't control his albums being shipped out or the company posting on social media. To ignore the difference and try to blame it on Tef is the sign of a company stand. Nobody's blaming V. Nobody's blaming anybody here. A Brown. Yeah, no, nobody's blaming anybody. Give me a second. Okay. I have faith in her. I do. I do too. But also, like as I've said, I'm not going to pull down my expectation just because she's a woman. Like she's just a leader. That's how I see her. And this is Big Hit that she's leading. So she better show up to the job. Big Hit is the cornerstone that built Hype. Correct. Um, Anime Candy, so true. Gender should not even be a part of the conversation. If she has the skill, then they deserve it. Right. Lara is asking, what video is that? Someone French. I look for it. So some 31 fr- yeah, just your nickname is so hard to pronounce. It said that he will look for it. And that's why they had him as the hidden member. Okay. Rebecca, can you Okay. Let's see. At least Big Hit did the one thing by making an OG the CEO. I love the idea of like an employee getting the promotion, like promoting from within instead of pirating from outside, because it does motivate a lot of people um, to work hard, to be loyal to the company, to help the company actually build and become bigger, knowing that they actually have a chance of getting promoted. So that I love. I do love promoting from within. The business that I'm running is very small, but if we ever become bigger, that's my plan, to just sort of train everybody so that we can promote from within instead of getting somebody from outside to become leaders. She has a lot of expectations. Multistan 95 said she has a lot of expectations to live up to, so her being a woman has nothing to do with this. Correct. I definitely agree. Um, I remember Jessica said, I remember them talking about the friendship first. Okay, it's too fast. Lara said internal promotions. Yeah. Christine Cruz, did V ask not to make Hybe's 2024 list with Suga? So he asked to arrest his album and no promotion either. That's what I asked, just an opinion. Winter ahead. I don't understand what your question is. um some friendship, sorry about that. I think of, no, it's fine, you can keep your friend. It's actually, it makes you easier to spot. Like if you're making a comment, I can spot you easier. I just don't know how to pronounce it because it's so difficult to read. Until Big Hit or Hype, Celeste said, until Big Hit or Hype says something, I am assuming that JK is fine. Yeah, of course. um okay. Warren, easy to pronounce. Warren said that her nickname is easy to pronounce. Rebecca, can you check? Rebecca, can you check what Lara just said? We can have our own bias. Juveline Co. said we can have our own bias, but any attempt to separate or break BTS as a group is just obviously an attempt to break Hybe as a conglomerate. Big Three never liked that they were surpassed by Hybe. Claire said in the documentary in Disney Plus, V said himself that he was just happy being known as V, the trainee, until he saw their debut performances, which showed him he has more to give. Rito is asking, wait, why wouldn't JK be okay? Okay. So she said that it's pronounced as someone from Earth. Okay, someone from Earth. They know what they are doing. BTS members, of course, they know what they are doing. They're the smartest people I've one of this some seven of the smartest artists I know. Strongest, smartest, dignified, decent. They know what they want. This is as boss as you can get. There's a video going around about JK in the hospital, according to Celeste. Don't believe those videos. He posted the picture himself that he's with Bam. I think they're just, just going on a holiday or something. Beth said they are grown men, not victims. I'm just glad that they have loyal people around them. They deserve the best, according to Apple Banco. Okay, so the document report lies. I don't know what kind of document. What I don't know the document report that you're talking about. So I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. You're gonna have to point to me something, like send me like a document or whatever. Yeah. So and then the other thing is people uh someone's medical record is confidential. I just want to make it clear to everybody. Uh don't don't concern unless they actually shared what happened to them in the hospital. That is confidential. Don't overstep, or let us not overstep our boundaries. We're just fans. We are not their relatives, we're not their family members. So unless they talk about their medical condition, unless they talk about their mental health, unless they talk about anything that they share that is personal, it is none of our business. Let's not overstep our boundaries, okay? That is, I mean, people here can't even ask you your this just medical records are very, very confidential. Don't overstep your boundaries. So unless they talk about it, leave it alone. Okay, where did all this JK rumors, can we, okay everybody, let us stop talking about their medical conditions unless they themselves talk about it, or unless their agency actually releases it. That is that is confidential. So let's not ask about it anymore. This is making me feel very, very uncomfortable. That is very confidential. So we're overstepping our boundaries, and I'm not going to tolerate it in my channel. That is their right. They have the right to privacy over their own medical records. So unless they share it, it is none of our business. When it comes to their family, relationships, money, medical records, any kind of personal properties, real properties, that is their business. Okay? I am any more mention of their medical records, I am going to block you. I don't like impeding on their personal lives. Nothing on their personal lives, medical records, I'm not going to tolerate it. So stop mentioning it because they have never talked about it. Okay? That's their, that's not over, we're just fans here. Let's make that clear. We're fans. We're very, very loyal fans, but we are fans. Let's know our place. We're not relatives, not family members, not managers, nothing. We're just fans. So let's leave it be. Okay, let's go back. Bam. So to everybody who asked, JK actually posted. He has an Instagram account, but it's the Instagram account of his son Bam, and that's where he posted the picture of Bam, and then he also posted his picture with Bam, and RM actually left a note. So I think that he is out on a vacation. Probably he's out on vacation. Initially when I saw this, I was like, oh yeah, of course it's going to be out on vacation. It's like Thanksgiving, and then I realized that they're actually not in America. so so it's probably not Thanksgiving in Korea. He's probably just out for a vacation. So but it's still, I feel very, very happy um that they're actually able to have a vacation. I also hope that they have spent time together after the release and the success of Jin's album. That's one. I hope that because they weren't able to be there to welcome J Hope back after he was released from the military. So I hope that they at least were able to come together since then. So for everybody who did not know, they didn't really explain why the other members weren't there. They did not release any formal statement, but J Hope just like casually mentioned that it was difficult to get a vacation. So it seems that they tried, at least based, that was how I was taking his his statement, that the members actually tried to file for a vacation but they couldn't, because if you would remember, at that time they were on red alert because North Korea was threatening to send them missiles or something. Um, Speaking of buff, Te has gotten huge. Usually they do get huge because they're not really, there's like, they do a lot of weights. They're able to do a lot of weights in there. Well, not a lot, but they don't spend a lot of energy, like they're not dancing and whatever, so not a lot of cardio. Don't worry about our boys, they're being watched by those undercover bodyguards. Jin said it in his Run BTS, because remember what happened to him inside when a girl pretended to be a nurse. um okay. Buff Tanya Sonya. Okay. Um, just going back to old shorts. All right. So this is a list of the demands that they put forward, that they sent to hybe. Um, and it was sent November 13th of 2024, and it was disclosed by Channel A. So one is their number one wish is that for Adore to be prosperous, basically. um, they want to go back to when they enjoyed being working with Adore, and they want to correct serious violations. They call it serious violations, and they want that done within 14 days. But because hybe didn't actually Adore didn't actually receive it until the next day, the deadline effectively becomes today. And according to Adore, they sent a response, a letter directly to New Jeans and their lawyers. So the main points is that they want the management company to take all necessary measures regarding hybe's division, saying that we can just discard new and set another game. So this was in relation to the brand document, the internal document that was leaked. Number two, please address the issue regarding the manager from another label who told Hani to ignore her. So this is what hybe or Adore actually responded to. So they responded by writing a public email, an open letter to Be Lift Lab. So they're saying that they believe in Hani and to please be careful and stuff like that. Um, they want Adore to take action regarding hybe's PR director. So if you would remember, somebody leaked the conversation of the PR director of hybe with a publication, and this is in relation to that publication stating that New Jeans sold 1 million copies of their album in Japan, when in fact it was just 37,000 or something like that. So hybe had it corrected because they can't lie because of stakeholders, their shareholders, they can't lie. And also the shareholders will actually expect that income when their dividends come, right? Because they know that, well, you sold 1 million copies, so I better see that in my dividends. So they had to actually correct that. um, Doll Baby said she doesn't believe anything that they say. I don't think anybody believes anything they say. Okay. Um, we urge Adore to take action. Okay. Number four, please rectify the unauthorized release. Thank you, Doll Baby, by the way. But I think we feel the same way about this. Next, please rectify the unauthorized release of photos and videos from New Jeans trainee period through media outlets which still had not been removed. So, if you would remember, Lift published a video of them rehearsing Attention when they were still under Source Music. As far as I know, when you enter a contract, a trainee contract with an agency, it allows them to use videos of you for promotions in the future. So that actually essentially becomes the property of Source Music, and that allows them to gives them the right to use it for whatever purpose, for as long as, of course, it is decent. Number five, please resolve the situation where New Jeans' achievements have been relatively undervalued due to album pushing. So what they're saying is that big hit or sorry, hype labels are using album pushing, which is pushing the numbers of other groups up because hype is doing album pushing, and so it's in comparison to them, this is what they're saying, this is their claim. In comparison to them, it seems that they're selling less when in fact they're just album pushing. I've already explained what album pushing is. Next, please immediately resolve the unnecessary dispute with Dolphiners director Shin Woo-sok and the resulting issue of New Jeans' existing works being removed. I do not think they will reinstate the videos because it was Apple who requested for the removal of that video. So they stated that according to Article 15, Paragraph 1 of the exclusive contract, if Adore violates the terms and exclusive contract, New Jeans may request correction with a 14-day grace period. And if the violations are not corrected within this period, they may terminate or cancel the contract. So they're saying that because of those violations, then they can freely leave Adore. So that is the threat that they are offering, or probably if they don't want to call it a threat, it's a fact that they're just stating that's what they're going to be doing. We don't know. So according to them, they actually are, according to Adore, they sent a certified letter, a response to New Jeans, but they don't want to disclose the entirety of the letter. So we're just going to have to wait what's going to happen. Um, I stubbed my toe, according to Bang Luna, I stubbed my toe to Hybe is abusing me, boohoo. What terms of contract were violated? Jojo is asking. So essentially, what the summary of the letter states, that it seems that they're making it appear as if Adore is actually not protecting them enough and not promoting them enough. And the one of the proof of that is Hyde's PR director asking the journalist to correct the number of albums sold in Japan that they claim to be. So according to the journalist, according to the story that he printed, New Jeans sold more than 1 million copies of their albums in Japan, when in fact it was just 37,000, which Hybe PR director wanted corrected. And they're saying, you're not protecting us, like you're not promoting, or you're not supporting the growth of our IP. And then they wanted Hybe to ask Source Music to take down the video of them um, dancing, rehearsing attention when they were still under Source Music. They said that that is a violation of their right. But as I've said, I think, as far as I know, Source Music has the right to those videos. So those are the violations that they're talking about. Essentially, they're saying that you're not protecting us. You, as an agency, you're not protecting us, and that is enough for us to terminate the contract unilaterally. So none of the big three, Nicole Loss said that none of the big three will take New Jeans. I don't think any of the big three will take New Jeans. Yeah. So if they do find an agency, most likely it's going to be a new one founded by Mama Roach, or it's going to be a smaller agency. Jojo can promote them. Jojo said can promote them when they are not doing anything but showing the world who they are. The facade. Yeah. Nicole lost. They have to pay Hybe. In If things go as they should, if they will have to pay Hybe if they want to terminate the contract. But crazier things have happened, so you don't know. But the thing is that if the court actually allows them to terminate the contract without any kind of penalty, I'm gonna cough. I'm gonna cough. I did not cough. Okay. If the court allows them to leave without any kind of penalty, they're going to set a precedent. And that means that they are going to, this will allow other members in the future, other idols in the future, to sue their company and to terminate their contract for such juvenile reasons. And that won't be encouraging to investors, because investors are going to feel like, well, we're not protected in that company, why am I going to invest money in that industry? You don't want that. You want to make sure that investors would feel that they have adequate amount of protection when they make their investments in a country. I just want them to, me too said, I just want to go away and shut up. um Elaine Mead said old pants still don't realize the things that they did that might have violated their own contract and that they could be punished. Not good for using. I don't think they realize, because I don't think that they are getting the right type of information. Essentially, at this stage, I think they're very, very much sheltered. So whatever information that is getting to them, I think those are screened so that they're only getting one side of the story. Sunny said standard contracts have non-compete clause in Korea, 3 to 4 years. Plus, it's not a lawsuit. They will have to pay back what they owe. The Bio Explorer said even if they are let go, they don't get to be New Jeans. So New Jeans as an IP is owned by Hybe or Adore. They're gonna have to pay for that name, and that is if the court will allow it. So the court can't tell Hybe or Adore to just give the name to New Jeans. They can't do that. Even if, for example, the court says they can just terminate the contract and not pay for it, you can't ask Hybe to give up the name because that is their property. So it is equivalent. So Adore owning the name New Jeans is equivalent to you owning your house. That is your property, right? So even if you, for example, so you own your house, and even if you commit a crime, the court isn't just going to, let's for example, you cheated somebody off their pay or bouncing check or whatever. Even if you're found guilty for bouncing check or for cheating people of their money, the court isn't just going to say, okay, well then give them your house. You can't do it that way because the court, your property is yours, so you have adequate protection over your own property. So then the court will still have to ask New Jeans to pay, the members of New Jeans to pay for the name. So they can't just get it for free. Carol, are New Jeans parents still interfering? The last interview that they did was in relation to Hanny's claim that the manager of Isle It said ignore her. That was the last interview that they made. Um, it is just a question of whether or not they know that Mama Roach was going to as a resign from Adore. Yeah, I have a gut feel that they didn't know. That's just a gut feel. They can be polyester trousers. I was surprised. T Style Army said I was surprised to find out that G Dragon just received ownership of his name. This is kind of crazy. He was given ownership over G Dragon. YG Yang Young Sok actually gave it to him. He kind of deserved it. I mean, he's not okay. Yang Young Sok is not the first one to do that. If you would remember, JYP gave GOT7 the name. He just handed it to GOT7. So that is not unprecedented. So GOT7, JYP handed the name GOT7, all the IPs, not just the name, but all the IPs of GOT7 and all their individual names, he handed it to the seven members. So it isn't unprecedented. But yes, Yan Yun Sok gave G Dragon rights over his name. Multistan 95 said at this point, the manager of B-Lift need to sue Hanny for emotional distress and defamation. um, I don't think he can sue Hanny for defamation because she wasn't really named. Like nobody who among the managers. Who is it among the managers? So one of the components of defamation, libel, or slander is that the person has to be identifiable. Faded jeans. Urban Squirrel said Hybe should get a gag order so they can stop putting out these ridiculous demands. They probably asked for it. The court probably didn't grant it, or they're probably still asking for it. Pink Crystal. I was told there was a jeans brand back in the 70s called Faded Glory. Fits old shorts to a T. Jeans. Wow, Faded Glory during the 70s. New Jeans is scheduled to attend KBS Year-End Festival. How can they do it if the contract is terminated? Um, so even if, for example, a contract ends, they still are bound to fulfill certain obligations that they said yes to, otherwise they're going to be sued. So even if it is, for example, if they said it is terminated, they still have to fulfill their obligations, their commitments. The Bio Explorer said Faded Glory is still a brand at Walmart. Faded Glory was at Kmart. Carol Faye, is Kmart still around? Like the only Kmart that I know of in, what's that? Third and La Brea? Is it La Brea? Third and La Brea. I'm talking about California. Right across, what's the name? Right across Pan Pacific Park. That is the only Kmart that I know, and it's closed. You don't know of any? Okay. I still have my Faded Glory jeans. It has flowers on the bottom. Okay. All right. Episodes of Jin, Ranjin. I have caught up. Okay. I want you guys to be honest. Have you caught up on the content of BTS? Since the supposed hiatus, which is not really a hiatus. Lara, you've caught up? How do you do it? I'm also so behind. I've watched the first episode of Ranjin and I wasn't able to watch anymore. Of course, like I have work, I have my business, I have this, um, and then just friendships that I have to maintain. So I really haven't had a chance to get caught up in their content. I'm trying my best, really, but then you have Jin who's just hell bent in giving us content. So it just piles up, I feel like. uh Leia said, I've got so much on my watch list. I know. I actually, new season of Ranjin coming. So in the soup, I'm scheduled to watch. Um, and then I'm also scheduled to watch Are You Sure? I know I haven't watched Are You Sure? I haven't watched Are You Sure? And then I have all of their DVDs. I haven't watched a single one of them. It's just so much content. I swear, it's so much content. Falling is number one in Japan, according to Chris. Wow, it is? Lara said she multitask. How? Pretty Treber. Ron Jin are great. I think there's a kidnap in the next one. I was actually joking in Patreon, like, so they did a teaser for the kidnap episode, and it's obviously J Hope, like, but they had to cover the face, and I'm like, oh, who could it be? Like, hello, it's J Hope. I haven't watched so Bangloon. I haven't watched the behind the scenes of for Are You Sure? Well, I haven't even watched the entire series. I want to watch so bad. I went back tonight and started watching Are You Sure again. If I watch it here, I'm going to get blocked because I'm on public on YouTube. They try. Too busy playing play in the song. Doll Baby said I'm all caught up. Oh my god, how do you guys do it? I envy all of you. I was really hoping that during this summer vacation, because I'm going to have some time off work, our boss gave us like several days off, just like for free. So I'm hoping to get caught up, but I don't know. The Bio Explorer said she doesn't sleep. I'm waiting. Jojo said, I'm waiting for 17 to be in an episode. Jin keeps mentioning them. They probably will be in that episode. Um, Bang Lunas is also not caught up. You see, I'm not caught up in any of them. Bea Bonilla, I still have some episodes of Ronjin. How? How just that? How do you do it? Eva said, "Hi, Ate, I've watched Are You Sure 4 times." You see, you're able to watch it for. I can't even watch it. I can't even watch it one time. So, have you guys finished In the Soup? Have you guys finished it? JK was killing that food. I'm waiting for Hobie to appear, according to Monica 10. In the soup, I haven't even finished it. Jimin said when JK and V and Jimin were given water. Okay. Oh yeah, that Dodger girl is not done watching In the Soup. I feel better. I bought it. I bought the content. I paid for it. I haven't watched it. I'm not caught up on anything except In the Soup. want to. I rewatched In the Soup season 2 lately. I just missed him. I haven't finished. See, I don't know how you get people who actually got caught up on watching their content. I don't know how you do it, but yeah, it's just that, as I've said, I do have a business. I have a full-time job, and then I have this channel. And it's like stuff, everyday life, friends I have to talk with, and relationships I have to maintain. I plan to binge, and then I also have a dog who's very demanding of my time. So he has about an hour and a half of my time every day, which is not much. Of course, it's not much. A dog needs more, but he is kind enough to be happy with the 1 hour and a half that I give him every day to play fetch. But it has to be every day because there's a lot of energy. Also, he's 4.5 years old. He's not going to be happy. I mean, he's not going to be healthy forever. So I just kind of want to make sure that I enjoy my time with him while he's still healthy. So I always set aside like an hour and a half for him every day. Um, and then work. And then this. So I don't know how you guys do it. I still need the last episode of RJ and J Hope's Prime stuff. Oh, I'm done with J Hope's Prime. So I'm done with J Hope content. I was able to watch all of their like documentaries that I was able to watch. So it's really old content that I can't catch up on. Jin's album has Japanese. Yes. Rewatching Run BTS with a few ladies, 4 to 5 episodes a week. Need to finish Suga's interview and everything else. Okay, that I'm not done with that. All of Suga's interviews, I'm not done with it. I was able to watch several of them. Guji said there's still Kmart's in San Diego. Map of the Soul. I have Map of the Soul. I want to watch one. Are you game? Do you want to watch Ron Jin? Are you game to watch? Where are you? Oh, I covered you. I've seen all of Suga's content. I want to know when Hobie is going to announce official TT concert. Probably next year. I think from now all the way until okay, in the interview, the radio interview that he did, he mentioned that one of the things that he intentionally did here in LA is to really go out and get acclimated with the LA culture. And that explains why I see him often, why I saw him often, because he really was making an effort to go around. So that explains why I actually saw him several times. So when I saw that interview, I was like, that makes sense. So he was really up and about. Like he was really making an effort to get to know the culture of LA and stuff like that. So okay. Uh Leia, happy birthday. Advance happy birthday. But I yeah. By the way, that was the second time that I saw him. That was the second. My first encounter was a little different. I can't tell you much about it because I don't want to spoil whatever it is that any project that he is doing. I kind of don't want to spoil, so I can't tell you about the first time. So that second time when I ran away, that was that time when I ran away was the second time that I saw him. And as I've mentioned, it now makes sense why I actually saw him several times. It's because he was really making an effort to go out in LA. So I'm still coming to the Disney. Um, you miss RFPs. I can't. I mean, I'd be more than happy to talk about it, but I don't want to spoil. I might be spoiling something, right? So better not. At least I told you the second time. I ran away. So it's just that there I just want to explain that the main reason I ran away is because I was recognizably an army. I was weird. It wasn't a chimi uh hoodie. It was a shuki hoodie. And then I had a sling bag with all seven um keychains of the BT21 characters. So he would know that I'm an army. That is why I run away. Just wanted to make that sure. I could see him buying a second home in LA. All of them, I actually see them buying a second home here. I think definitely JK is going to buy one for sure. I think Suga is going to buy one. I think Jimin is going to buy one. So for sure, Jimin, Jungkook, and Suga. Not for sure, in my opinion, okay, because I don't know them. In my opinion, I think Suga, Jimin, Jungkook are going to buy a house here, primarily because I think Suga. This is just my guess. I think Suga is going to pursue more projects in the US, and that includes just producing not necessarily his own album or whatever. I think he's going to do that as well. But I think he's going to do like a lot of work for other artists. And he's going to do like movies, like scoring for movies and stuff. So that I think he's going to do. And then Jungkook, I think is just going to really establish himself in the US. Um, and then and Jimin too. I think Jimin is going to just see himself, like find himself in the US a lot. So they're probably just going to buy. I also wouldn't put it past Jimin. I mean, I wouldn't put it past any one of them to sort of stay with one of them when they're in the US. Like if Jungkook is going to buy his house, I wouldn't put it past the other members to just, hey, Jungkook, can I stay in your house? I'm going to be there for a week. Sugar likes LA. He does, yeah. It's still funny to me that you run away. If like, and it was also funny the way that I like when I froze and the way that I run away. I probably, in all honesty, I think I made it worse by running away because the seven keychains, they were making noise. So it probably spotted me because I ran away. I could have played it cool and didn't do that. So Coldplay has a home in LA. I think and also Taka of One OK Rock has a home here. I think Bang Shiuk bought the Beverly Hills villa for BTS. J-Hope didn't stay there. But I think it's because J-Hope intentionally wanted to get acclimated with the culture of LA. Kristen, Army alert. Yeah, I think I made it like after I kind of realized I probably made it worse because I was like, why did I have to run away? Like I could have taken off the jacket and sort of hold the keychains so that it wouldn't make any noise. But it's just so unexpected for me to see him there. What the hell was he doing there? Okay, I probably know. All right. Uh, right people, wrong place interview. Have you actually watched this? You're so funny. They love to meet Army. I know, but I wasn't sure. I just wanted to respect his privacy. So I had my chance to talk with him the first time. I'm happy with that. So let's see. Malibu is where Chris Martin lives, and Suga said he loves Malibu the most in California. I can't blame them. Um, I love Malibu. Who doesn't love Malibu? Nobody. I've watched two RPWP interview. I probably would have done worse. Okay, why don't I close my my live stream by watching Ranjin, and then if you guys are done, if you need to go to sleep, I understand that you can go off and 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 just do whatever it is that you need to do for the night. But I just want to. Where is Ranjin? I just wanted to like get caught up a little bit. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Wait, recommend which one? So I've only watched the first one. So which one should I do? Should I just do like episode 2? Episode 3. Wait, I did Jeju Island. Episode 1 I did climbing. I did that. Glorious Homecoming I was able to watch. Um, I was able to watch. Even leaving the military wasn't this hard. Halloween episode. Okay. Should do that? Okay. Halloween episode. What episode is that? 11? Is that 11? Episode 11? I met a ghost for real. I met a ghost for real. Watch them in order. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. The Halloween episode is funny. 2 a.m. for me. Okay, so I'm going to watch the Halloween episode, and then I'm gonna go on order. To everybody who's going to stay, go ahead and stay. But you have to go. I perfectly understand. Thank you very much for spending tonight with me. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And I hope that I am just want to express my gratitude to all of you guys. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for exchanging ideas, for expressing yourself. Thank you for allowing me to build this community, for being a part of this community. I'm learning. I know I don't know if you guys know, but I am actually learning more from you. I'm pretty sure I'm learning more from you than you are learning from me. So I'm deeply, deeply thankful for that. I hope that we continue growing the community. Um, I hope that being a fan of BTS is just a start of this. I hope that we can grow together in different aspects of our lives, share more about each other, help each other if we can. So thank you. I am so, 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 so thankful for everything. You are creating a great place for all of us. Thank you, Bang Luna. Thank you. I really am very thankful. I don't know how else to express my gratitude. If there's anything that you feel that you want me to do, let me know. I'll try to do it. Topics that you want me to cover, suggestions that you have, let me know. It's I always welcome it. So thank you. If you have to go ahead. Thank you very much. I will watch this, and I'm not going to say goodbye after this. I'll just watch it, and you can stay if you want. Thank you very much. Okay, let's watch. Going to this place where he's shooting this one. It is outside of Seoul. I would suggest, so there are two places you need to go in this area. This is close to each other. The other place is where Suga shot his Dechita, the Dechita music video. So I would suggest, if you're going to go here, either stay in that area or rent a car, or get a tour, like a tour that you can customize, because the transportation isn't as organized as Seoul. Like one bus, sometimes there's like an hour gap between the buses, so you can end up waiting a while. So that's what I would suggest. Either stay in that area for a night or two, or rent a car, or get a tour that you can customize. Okay. Would remember that time when I think he was sleeping with the matinee line in a hotel, and the crew went in and they were all sleeping, and he just waved his hand to ask everybody to go out. Like that.